All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to take a few minutes here to briefly outline some of the most important aspects of both MLA formatting and APA formatting. And so there are a couple of options for you as you plan out your paper written in each of these formats. The first would be if you have access to the handbooks. We'll be working with MLA 8th edition and APA 6th edition. Though, of course, those aren't required. What might be the best resource for you is this website that I have listed here, the OWL Purdue website. It's Purdue University, and the OWL stands for Online Writing Lab. If you're not familiar with this, you absolutely need to familiarize yourself with it because it will save you hours of work as an English teacher and should be able to answer virtually any question you have about writing in either of these two formats or styles. So I'm going to assume that you will be using that website, and most of what I've taken in this lesson comes directly from that website itself. One thing to just note here, as we differentiate between the two of these, they are going to have many differences, but they're also going to have many similarities. And one basic similarity right from the outset is this idea of a hanging indent, a reverse indent, where you're not indenting the first line of your paragraph like you typically do, but you're indenting every line that comes after that. And this, of course, is used for your references section or your works cited, where you list all the resources that you have used in your paper at the end of your essay. Some basics of MLA that I'll allow you to stop and to read through if you wish. For the most part, it is formatted in the way a typical online or Word document is formatted in terms of the margins, the 12-point font, and some of those types of things. I'm going to adjust this here because I see that it's a little bit, I wonder if I can, I don't know if it's going to allow me to in the middle of this, but and then the biggest piece to keep in mind is what MLA is typically used for. It's typically used for language study, for cultural studies, art fields, and so forth. As far as the first page of your paper is concerned, MLA is very nice because it doesn't require any sort of title page, it doesn't require any sort of abstract. All of your initial information is put in the upper left-hand corner of your document. That, as well as a header that runs throughout the duration of your paper in the upper right-hand corner, which is your last name followed by the page number. You take a look at this information. In the heading that you have at the top of your document, you notice that the title of your paper is centered, but there is no other font or formatting changes. Everything is in that Arial or Times New Roman text, 12-point font. Everything is double-spaced throughout the entire document. As far as titles go, keep in mind that the titles of longer works, such as a novel or an entire book or film, are in italicized or italics, while the titles of shorter works, for example, a poem, a song, or an article from a journal, are in quotation marks. In-text citations are how we refer to citations that occur in the text of your document. So as you're writing your five-page or five-paragraph essay, you are going to incorporate information from other sources. What you're going to need for every source is the name of the author or the name of the source that it came from, as well as the page number. So we see here there are a couple of ways we can go about this. We can use the author's name in our sentence, followed by the quotated material, and then just simply give the page number in parentheses at the end. However, if we don't use Wordsworth's name in the actual sentence, we need to include it at the end of our sentence in the parentheses. So you see in the second example how the parenthetical information at the end includes the author's last name as well as the page number that it's taken from. Note that in MLA we don't use commas, we don't use P to distinguish that this is the page, and we also are not required to put the year of publication in parentheses either. Finally, for a paraphrase, which is just taking information from another source and putting it into your own words rather than using an actual quotation, we see another example where we use the author's name in our sentence, and so we just have the page number in the parentheses at the end. Let's say that a source we're using has no known author. We'll need to use the title of the work instead. So here you see a sentence that has some information at the beginning followed by a quotation. We have no author here, or no single author. It could be a corporate author, or it could be a group or a committee. So we just put the title of the article. In this case it's a short work, so we'll put it in parentheses. If it were longer we would use italics. Because the whole goal of our in-text citation is to guide our readers to our work cited at the end of our paper. Whatever we put in the parentheses, or that parenthetical citation, must correspond with the way that we cite the information on our work cited. So here we don't use an author, we use the title, Impact of Global Warming. Then at the bottom, this would be an example of our works cited entry, where we would begin, since there is again no known author, we would begin with the title of that work, which is an article. Note again the arrow that's highlighted in yellow to indicate the hanging indent, where we will have the first line sort of hanging off the left margin a little bit further than all of the other lines. The general format for a reference list or works cited in MLA includes your author, your title, the title of the container or the book or the volume, as well as the publisher, publication date, and location. A couple of examples there based on the information that is given to you in your document. This is what the basic magazine or periodical might look like when it's cited in the reference list. And the basic article, again, noting the hanging indent, the second line. Basic website. How about APA? The major differences in APA are, first of all, the content areas that use it. The reason I'm asking you to use both of these is because as an English teacher, you will most likely be focused on MLA. However, as a graduate student in education or any other social science, you'll be required to use APA. And so this one looks a little bit different. There are 4 major sections to APA, and they include a title page, which is different than MLA, an abstract, which is different than MLA, and then a main body and references, which are very similar to MLA. So let's begin with the title page. I've got an example over in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen where you see that it's going to give you the title of your paper as well as your name as the author and your institutional affiliation. So you would say the University of Sioux Falls for that. In addition, in the upper left-hand corner, you're going to give us a running head that says running head on the first page, as well as title of your paper, and then you begin that with page 1. So this is essentially a cover page for your entire research paper. Following that is a page that's dedicated to the abstract. Okay, it's going to have the page header, which is going to be the title of your paper, and then again the page number. But as far as your abstract goes, you'll note that again it's double spaced. That abstract is the title and it is centered, and then you begin by giving us a paragraph or so summary of what your paper is going to be about, and that is not indented. Short and sweet. From there we move to in-text citations, and we've been using these in our article studies, but just a reminder, the three major pieces that you need for APA are the author's last name, the year that the work was published, and then the page number. And you see here that when you use the author's name in your sentence, it is followed by the year of publication in parentheses. Following your quotation or your paraphrase, you give us the page number, this time using P period, space, and then the page that you used. Second example here is without using the author's name in the actual sentence. All of that information, the author's name as well as the year of publication, is just moved to the end of the sentence or after the quotation and is put in parentheses. So here we have Jones, which is the author's last name, 1998, which is the year of publication, and then P199, which is our page number. The general format for references list in APA. Note the OWL, the Purdue OWL website for this. It is a little bit different in its formatting. Here you see that we're still using a hanging indent in both examples. But in that first one, which is titled APA Guide to Preparing Manuscripts for Journal Publication, you note that we only capitalize the first word in the title. Here's an example for a magazine, an article in a periodical, and a website. Once again, noting the hanging indent in the second line of each. And finally, a reminder that the Purdue OWL is your friend. We are blessed to be studying and doing research in the 21st century, where we have all of this information at our fingertips online. So I've given you a couple of examples of typewriters that were used in the 90s, or early modem connected phones and dial-up internet in the early 2000s. While this does seem like a lot of work still, the ability to gather resources online, articles, books, those kinds of things, PDFs, and then also to find information about formatting our material in the appropriate style is easier now than it has been at any other time in history. So please take advantage of those resources that are available to you. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns, and I will see you at our next class meeting on Wednesday, February 6th in the bottom of Glidden Hall in the basement, computer lab in room 115.